everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really thrilled today. We are here talking about a whole convention for Christmas. This is very exciting. It's the Christmas Con, which I was not able to attend. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. I was not able to, but I have two people here with me to tell us all about the experience, and hopefully they'll be doing more and maybe one closer to me or whatever, so I can go next time. But it'll be really fun to hear all about it. So I have Alys here.
Hi, everybody.
Yay. And Alys Murray's here.
Hi, everyone.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
So why don't we each start? So I wanted to have both of you on because you both had different roles at the con. Mm-hmm. And so, Anne, why don't you kind of tell about your experience? You were there with your mom?
Yes, I got to go with my mom. So we met there in New Jersey, and we went all 3 days. So on Friday, we kind of just wanted to scope out, what's it going to be like, where are things? So tomorrow, the next day, we'd know like where to go and that kind of thing. But I mean, they have different areas when you go in there. They have stage area, vendors and food. Then they have, in the middle of everything is what they call the Hallmark Channel experience. And so they have Hallmark Channel employees and different settings where you can take pictures, a Christmas tree, apple cider and cookies. Then you go to the back, and that's where the autographs and the things like that are, where the celebrities are. Mm-hmm. And we had a really great time just being there as a fan. It was very fun. And that's a general overview.
So Alys, what about you? You were there as a panelist, right?
Yes, I was there as a panelist, but for the third day. So on Sunday, I was on a panel, but Christmas Con was nice enough to give me a 3-day talent badge. So I got to go all 3 days and visit, which was really, really neat. Like the first 2 days, I was just kind of, as a fan of these movies and walking around and talking to people and kind of getting a feel for everyone's experience. It was really fun. It was, a first-year convention is always going to be a little bit hectic and, things might not have gone completely perfectly or anything. But it was really exciting to get to meet, like, as much as I write these films and books, like, I still also just, like, love them and enjoy them as a fan. So it was cool to connect with other fans and really, like, get in the Christmas spirit before all these movies really kick into high gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you, Anne, been to any other cons like this?
My husband and I went to 1 day of one of the like Walker Stalker Heroes Villains Fan Fest things that they had in Nashville, and we were only there 1 day, and he did do a photo op with somebody there. That was like really my only con type of experience. I've never been to like one of the super big ones, which I wanted to go. It's just really hard to get tickets. So it was my first kind of full immersion 3-day experience into it, and I was totally all about it. So it was great. It was great.
So is that like a Walking Dead con that you went to?
Yeah, it was like they had Walking Dead and then a few other like heroes and villains from like other stuff like DC shows or things like that. But yeah.
What about you, Alys? Have you been to a con like that?
I went to San Diego Comic Con in 2016, I think. Mm-hmm. Just for 1 day. We were in town and managed to get some tickets. It was kind of a nightmare.
Oh, really?
It's really, really cool. Don't get me wrong. And it's just like, I had no idea what to expect. So like, I just wasn't at that point. I like understood fandom and I was part of fandoms, but mostly like in online spaces. So I just had no idea what to expect. Yeah. And I think that was kind of how a lot of people at Christmas Con were, like a lot of the fans who had come. Yeah. I don't think a lot of them had ever been to a convention experience quite like this. So I think there was some kind of expectation adjustments maybe that'll be made for like subsequent years.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, this was a really exciting one because it was like a little bit smaller and the people were sometimes a little nicer. Like, it was a little lower stakes than San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's a pretty intense one. I haven't been to San Diego Comic-Con, but I've been to D23 twice. And yeah, that's a lot to dive into your first one.
I bet. Overwhelming. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a link on my other channel. I have a whole video comparing small cons versus large cons. And because we have here local, we have what's called FanX,
Oh,
and
right.
it's basically Salt Lake Comic Con, and they made them change the name, which is ridiculous. But,
Mm.
but yeah, there's advantage, pluses and minuses to all of them. And it basically at FanX, they have like the photo ops that you can pay for, and they have the tons of panels, which are so good, and that kind of thing. Whereas D23, you don't have to pay extra for anything, but you
Oh.
pay in lines. You pay.
You do, your time is paid.
You pay in lines. Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon at D23 to wait at least 4 hours for a panel.
Oh my God.
So
I would lose my mind.
and
Oh
it's
my
once you
God.
get in, they make it worth it, man. They're really good.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
not quite as bad as it sounds because it's not a moving line. Like you just can sit down and just,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
That's a
that
little
makes
bit
it a
better.
little bit better. And if like your friends
Yeah.
are there, then it's,
Can talk.
it's not as opposed to like a Disneyland line where you can't really read a book or anything like that because you're moving
Uh-huh.
in the line. They just kind of bring everybody up all at the same time. So while you're waiting, but anyway, so yeah, it's an intense experience going to a con, and the small and the big ones have their place. But I did get that sense in listening to some of the feedback that a lot of people didn't really understand what this kind of event is, when they were talking about things. But I also did feel like it seemed like there weren't enough panels, and there was too much that was for pay. And that's one thing about FanX is that they give you a lot for your badge. Like there's just so much you can do. I don't know. What did you think? Did you feel that way, Anne?
Yeah, it was so funny because I think like a lot of the tickets sold out before people knew about stuff. So people, like 7 people stopped me and were like, okay, tell me what was included in the VIP badge. So I'll tell you guys. And it was, I won the tickets, but if you paid for the VIP, it was $170. And that got you entry to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and entry into the concert, Alicia Witt and Paul Green. And then that got you into the special VIP lines for like the selfie autographs, like a shorter line. And you could get in 30 minutes early every day also. And for me, if I was actually paying that money, I thought that some like, what do you call it? Some like photos or selfies should have been like vouchered into that price, because that seemed too much for me just for what I got, or what, if you paid for it, what you got. And that's what a lot of people said. They're like, you don't get any like, free, like 3 free photos. And I was like, no. And, I was with them. I was like, no, they should have at least included like, 3 photo or autographs, whichever you choose. Like you get some voucher and you have that, because it did seem too much money for that. That's my opinion, and it seemed to be everybody else's opinion when I told them. They're like, oh my God, so much money. And it is.
Yeah,
And I think that was a lot of people's thing. They were like, oh, I have to pay, like I paid to get in here, then I have to pay for, if I want any photos, any selfies, any photo ops, I have to pay more money. And so I think that, that needs to be kind of adjusted in some way. For next time.
So at least you got there on Friday, then you were there all 3 days?
I did. Yeah, so I was there for only a short time on Saturday, because I was a little bit under the weather, but I was there all day Friday and Sunday.
Okay. And was it just in the evening on Friday, or was it?
Yes, it opened at 5, I believe, and VIPs could get in, I think, at 4:30, if I'm recalling correctly. But I think, just speaking kind of objectively as someone who didn't have to pay for their ticket, Friday wasn't necessarily as good a value. I think there's only one panelist. There were fewer celebrities. It was obviously a shorter day. And the Christmas tree lighting was a fairly short, event. And I think that might have caused a bit of the frustration among fans who had gone that Friday. So I think that might have been a point of concern. If I had bought a ticket, I might have been like, oh, I wish there were more panels or more people I could see, or more things to do, like crafting stations, or, some kind of more Hallmarky tasks that were like built into your badge.
Yeah. So did they, I guess they had a hot cider and cookie booth.
Yes, they did. That it was so funny. I asked my mom, I said, what was your favorite part? And her favorite part was the hot cider cookies and just that whole Hallmark Channel area. She was like, that part was awesome. And it was. They did, it's Hallmark. They did it. It looked like you were in a movie in the middle of that thing. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And they had the cider and cookies and super nice man every time just giving it to you. And it was good. The cider was good too.
Well, the funny thing to me about the Hallmark section, so if you've ever been to like a romance convention, like for romance novels, Harlequin usually sponsors a cover artist or cover model photo booth where fans can go take pictures with like shirtless romance novel cover artists.
Yeah.
Which is both funny and cringy. But this was like this Hallmark
We'd all do
experience.
it, let's be honest.
Yes.
This Hallmark experience felt like the Hallmark version of that, where like every man who worked in this thing was like kind of like a handsome, rugged tree farmer look. All of them were in flannel. They were all really nice and smiley. Like it was the Hallmark version of that, which I thought was really, really sweet and kind of precious.
I mean, have the bad boy section with a bad man of business.
I didn't see any bad man of business. I want my money back.
Yeah, that would have been good. That'd be funny. Yeah, and they just had a bunch of different photo ops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like two like kind of like fireplace room settings, and then the ornament, like you go inside the ornament kind of like box kind of thing, and then he takes your picture. And it was so many families there, like I'm sure taking their like Christmas card picture. They're like all matching, they look adorable, like they're so cute. I was like, oh, I wish my husband was here to be like a perfect like setting for a Christmas card photo.
You're like photoshopping him in.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, my husband and I took our Christmas card. We don't really do Christmas cards, but we took a Christmas picture together at the Hallmark photo op.
Oh, that's cute. Did your husband have a good time, or
He did. He only came with me. He has one of his best friends just moved to New Jersey, so they spent Friday and Saturday hanging out.
Okay.
He came Monday for the panel, and I think he was excited because he likes the movies. He watches them with me. But I think he was very bewildered. He was very overwhelmed by all the people and the kind of like passion of the Hallmark fandom. Yeah. I think he was expecting like a lot of very like, prim and proper ladies,
Yeah, that's not what it was.
And that was not what it was.
These people were decked out.
Proper, they just weren't like, they were all very passionate.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely. Were people wearing like the Hallmark version of cosplay, like all decked out in Christmas or anything like that?
I saw a couple of people wearing I saw one Christmas tree dress. I saw like one guy wearing like a candy cane suit. Like I saw a couple of those. Yeah. A couple of like sort of cosplay, but no one was like dressed as Alicia Witt's Ghost of Christmas Present in, that movie where she's a book writer.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
There are so many different Hallmark shirts and people like made these sweaters with like stuff on it, and like people had shirts made like making memories at Christmas Con 2019, so and so family. Like it was, they were wearing all of this. Not like super over the top stuff, but definitely Christmassy stuff. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. Did they have any like good merch, or was it pretty?
Oh, I honestly, I couldn't really look because I could barely close my suitcase when I went there. So I was like, I know I can't buy anything. So I wished it was closer to me just so I could actually look at the stuff, because I didn't want to look because I'm like, I'm just teasing myself. So, but I didn't really get to really look at it. I saw some of the food stuff because I was like, okay, I could get that and then just eat it. Yeah, but I think it was local stuff, right? Mostly.
Yeah, most of the vendors there were like kind of local, more crafty vendors. I think there were a few like MLMs, like Young Living and that sort of thing. And then what I found most surprising probably was that there was no actual Hallmark branded merchandise for sale in the entire convention. So
that is weird.
Like the merch booth was all Christmas Con branded, which like obviously it's their event, but the fact that Hallmark had a presence there but wasn't selling like the DVDs or the books or anything, like their branded T-shirts, or I was really surprised by that, and I think some of the guests were surprised as well.
Yeah, it was.
Even at D23, they have a whole Hallmark booth.
Yeah.
You can buy stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can get ornaments and stuff. Like, especially you would think they would have an ornament booth.
Fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was really surprised by that.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They are the good folks over at Glamour Jewelry Box. And right now you can save $5 on your first month subscription. Go to glamourjewelrybox.com and use offer code Hallmarkies during checkout. And what Glamour Jewelry Box does is every month they'll send you a bracelet, a necklace, and a pair of earrings. And they try to be on trend, but not like weird on trend. And so if you want to finish off that holiday ensemble, the holiday outfit with like the perfect accessories, this is such a fun way to have something that is unique, that's affordable, and that not everybody is going to have at your get-togethers and your parties, things like that. Also makes a wonderful gift, because who doesn't like getting something fun in the mail every month? So definitely check it out. Save $5 on your first month subscription. You go to glamourjewelrybox.com, use offer code Hallmarkies during checkout.
Also, there was one of the booths I thought was really fun was BYU had a booth there, and they were doing Christmas movie research for someone's doctoral thesis.
Oh,
So you would
see that.
You would go and do like a word association game, and they would give you
Ooh.
saltwater taffy and buttons for participating. It was very cute.
That I wonder if we should get them on the podcast.
Yes.
They're probably close by me. That's interesting. only at BYU. Although I think maybe now I've missed my chance of getting a PhD in Christmas movies. They take it over. They stole my idea. No, that's interesting. So then on Saturday, there were a few more panels. What were you able to go to, Anne, on Saturday?
Oh, on Saturday I got to see. Oh, what was the first one? I didn't get to see Danica and Rachel because I was at Danica's line actually. I did get to see some of the podcast panel. I was kind of in the back. The tables where you could eat were a place where you could still hear it and see it from pretty far away. But I was back there, so I could hear some of that. And then, I'm trying to remember who else was on Saturday. I saw Cameron and Melissa Claire Egan. We were like in the second row because my mom loves all my children. So they were great, wonderful. And
did they give any fun nuggets? Anything that surprised you at all, or?
Not really. Cameron did say, which I just saw an article about it, that in the movie he made, there was a lot of kind of paying attention to special moments, which I guess we'll see in Christmas Club. And so he felt like it partially inspired him to get the MRI that he got that, helped save his life. So he said that, if he wasn't to make that movie with that specific, kind of theme, then, he's like, I'm not sure if, he's like, I could have, but, maybe not at that time would I have, gone right and done it after them making that movie. So that was really cool.
So the podcasting panel, obviously it was woefully lacking because we were not included.
Yes, definitely.
But it had our friends from Deck the Hallmark.
Yes.
And it was, and then the girls from the Bubbly Sesh.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it had, I think Brian from Christmas Past.
Yes.
So that, was there anybody else?
I know, I'm trying to remember if there's somebody else.
Did Alonzo host that panel, or was it the Bubbly Sesh?
It was Alonzo for that one. The Bubbly Sesh hosted every single other panel, but he did for their panel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you get to meet him?
I didn't get to meet him. I saw him a few times. I didn't go up and talk to him. He seemed like he was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's so great. Friend of the podcast, Alonzo Duralde. Elise, did you get to go to that one?
No, I didn't. I missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure it was very interesting. Did they? I'm sure it was a lot of fun to hear about from the podcasters.
Oh
yeah. I guess what did they discuss? What was the kind of heart of the discussion?
They were just kind of talking about like what sort of things they like talk about on their podcast, and then like what some of like their favorite films are, or the things that they enjoy talking about most, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what they were kind of talking about.
What was Grumpy Dan like? Was he miserable, or what did he play his
He
part well?
Yeah, he does. He plays that part pretty well. He's just so funny. Yeah, he was being himself. I'll just say that.
Good.
You know.
That's good. Well, that sounds fun. That would have been my most anticipated of the con for sure. So did you get to go to any other? So Lacey Chabert and Jonathan Bennett, I guess, spoke at a
Yes, my
panel.
mom went to see that one. I was in line for somebody when that happened, because it's like that was the best time to be in line when everybody else was in the panel. But I could kind of hear Jonathan. He is a hoot. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he is just so over the top. It's just really funny.
I know.
But
I hope someday I'll get to interview him, because yeah, even in his Hallmark movies, like there's just that little sort of wink wink that
yeah,
I really enjoy. It
it's so
was funny. But
oh,
did
and
you sorry.
they
Go ahead.
had the guy from Mean Girls. Oh my gosh. What's his name? He came as a special surprise. One of the guy who was friends with Lindsay Lohan and
Oh,
Janice. I forgot his character's name.
yeah.
He came, he surprised everybody, and he came. And so then they were all three kind of, talking about Mean Girls from what I could kind of hear, and then, Christmas stuff as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the panels seem to be groupings that didn't have to do with the movies that they're in. They were with
Yes.
other stuff, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
Cameron Matheson, Melissa Claire Egan,
Yeah.
that's not they're not in the movie together.
Yeah.
But and then Lacey and Jonathan, and then Jack Kay and Melissa Joan Hart, and I don't know, it's
Yes.
sort of interesting. But were you able at least to go to any panels on Saturday? You said you got sick.
Yeah, I was a little under the weather, and I was worried about being ready for mine on Sunday.
Sure.
I heard some great things. Yeah, I heard the Mean Girls panel, as they called it, was thrilling, especially once the special guest arrived.
Yeah. So you were able to do a bunch of photo ops and on Saturday. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, I did three. I had planned three on Sunday, and then three on Saturday and three on Sunday, but I ended up doing four Sunday. But yeah, on Saturday I saw Chad Michael Murray. He was the first one, because I was like, his line's going to be out the wazoo. So I was like the fourth person to see him. So that was super
So you
exciting.
you didn't like have a sort of a spot reserved ahead of time for him. You just had to stand in line.
Yes, you have to stand in line. So thankfully, when I got there, it was early. And so I was the third VIP person in line. And so what they do is they alternate between a regular line and the VIP line. But the VIP line is always way shorter than the regular line. So it goes a lot quicker. Because some people are like, oh, well, they're just alternating and, you're still waiting. I'm like, yeah, but I was like, the farthest I was in line was in Ryan Pavey's line. I was like the 15th person in line, and that was the furthest back that I was. Usually I was like the first, second, third, fourth person in line. So I only waited like 10 minutes, so that was worth it. But yeah, I saw Chad and then Jesse Metcalf and Cameron Matheson on Saturday.
Oh, it's like a handsome fest.
Oh my gosh, yes. They're so wonderful and sweet and kind. So
Yeah.
All the women were melting into the ground. So and all the guys were just rolling their eyes like, oh my gosh. Not some of them. Some of the older guys, they were like super happy to be there with their wife and like super supportive, and that was sweet.
They've learned over time.
Exactly. You can't fight it, so
I always remember our friend Sam from Hallmark Hubby, where he was like, my wife watched Hallmark movies and I watched sports. And I realized I wanted to spend time with my wife, so I started watching Hallmark movies.
Oh, that's hilarious.
My favorite thing ever.
Aww.
Yeah, that's the dream marriage as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, definitely.
Was it relatively well organized as far as the photo ops? Because I have to admit, I don't like getting photo ops, at least at FanX, because it is such chaos. And it's just, they just like push you in. You only have like 30 seconds with this person. And so I've only done photo ops twice. I've done other ones that were the selfie ones, which I think are way better.
Yes.
But yeah, I've done Carrie Fisher, which
Oh yes.
Amazing.
not.
Worth it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're also, and the prices just keep getting higher and
Oh my
higher.
gosh, yeah.
Back when I got my picture with Carrie Fisher, it was $90, which at the time it was like, oh my gosh, how am I spending this much? But it was worth it. But we also had to sit on the floor with her dog. The whole thing was very weird.
Oh.
But anyway, it was worth it because it's Carrie Fisher. And and then the only other one that I've done that's one of those expensive ones was I had my picture taken with Jodie Benson, who is the voice of
I know you
Ariel,
love, yes.
like my hero. And so that was really cool. But I don't know, just the whole process is very stressful in my opinion.
Well, I actually, because of what you just said, I didn't do the photo opt ones where they have like the background and the bright light and the camera. Cause I'm like, I'm one of those people, I really blink really bad when it's the camera flash thing. And I've done one of those things one time before and I was like, that costs more money. It costs double the amount of money. And I was like, I'm probably going to blink. So, and I feel like I have less time with the person. So I went for all the selfies, which all the ones I did were $30, except for Cameron was very nice. And the lady was like, oh, here's your change. I was like, what? She's like, oh, his is 25. I'm like, oh, well, bless him. Okay, well, but yeah, they were 30 and the photo ops were all like 60 or 50. And I was like, as many as I wanted to do, I was like, I will save like half the money, just doing the selfies. And whenever I saw the photo op line, it was crazy. So I was so glad that I did not do that. So that was just my personal experience and what I personally wanted. But yeah.
Well, that's really cool that they had the selfies for pretty top tier talent.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, like the only person I heard over 30, which I didn't agree with, no offense to her, is Melissa Joan Hart. I heard that hers was 40 and I was like, what? But that was her choice to set whatever she wanted. I thought that was pretty cheap.
At FanX this last time, to get your picture taken with Hayden Christensen, $220.
What?
I'd have done it. I'd have done it.
You've done it.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I mean, does that come with like a free kiss? Like that's a lot of money. That's so much money.
He was charging as much as Tom Holland, which
oh my gosh.
That to me is
well, I guess for him, not to stick up for someone who's charging $225 for a picture with them, but I do think for him especially because he has so much like fanboy hate. I guess it keeps people who would just want to say something mean to him from paying $50 just to like stick it to Hayden Christensen.
Well, and hey, he was very busy. There was there was no want of people. So hey, if you can get the 220,
I mean,
power to you, as far as I'm concerned. So but that's really cool. Actually, that makes me feel much better about the photo op whole thing because $30 is very reasonable, and
that's what I thought.
And to have it be the for the selfies for someone like Cameron Matheson. That's pretty good. It's not bad. It really
Chad Michael Murray, $30 selfie. I honestly thought about doing another one. I'm not gonna lie. Just to be close to him one more time. It crossed my mind. So there was ATMs because you had to pay cash. They had ATMs. You could just go to the ATM, get more money. So.
That's cool. Yeah, I just took a couple selfies at the last FanX with Linda Ballantyne, who's the voice of Sailor Moon, and then with Susan Egan, who's the voice of Meg in Hercules and a really amazing singer. So I'm here for the voice talent.
Yeah.
I also did one a couple of years ago with Ralph Macchio from Karate Kid. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's
We'd like to take a second to thank our second sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They are at Skylight Frame, and right now you can get $10 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame, and you go to skylightframe.com. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME, and you enter code Hallmark, not Hallmarkies, just Hallmark, and you can get $10 off. And what this is really neat about is that it's such an easy way to display photos in a new format, because we've had digital frames for a long time, but this is a completely digital experience. You don't have to have your frame connected to the computer at all. People can email photos right directly to your frame. So what could be so fun about this is you could be looking at your frame and surprise photo from a member of your family could just pop up. And I think that's such a delightful idea. You think of all the pictures that we take on Instagram and on our phones. And if you could just one click send that directly to the frame of a member of your family, that would just be such a novel, fun concept, I think. They are very attractive. It's a black frame with a white mat. It looks just like any other picture frame, so it doesn't look like a digital frame that we've seen before. It has 100% satisfaction guarantee. You'll really enjoy it. And I think it would just make such a nice gift, especially if you think of somebody like a grandma or somebody that's really important to the whole family and that everybody could be sending photos to the frame. It has a touch screen. It's just easy to use. And you can save $10 off your purchase of a Skylight frame. You go to skylightframe.com, enter code Hallmark. That's Skylight Frame, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com, code Hallmark. Did you, when you went to San Diego Comic-Con, did you get into Hall H?
No, we mostly went for like the experience-based stuff. So we did like a Suicide Squad thing. My husband and I, he did a big Mr. Robot thing, which I didn't do. And then we did the thing where you called an Uber and then they put like a VR experience on you while they drove around. And I've never seen Mr. Robot, so I didn't understand anything that was going on.
Yeah.
I spent almost the entire time making fun of the lead actor's voice, which my husband did not think was very funny. But yeah, we did like mostly the experience-based stuff.
That's fun. Yeah, they have stuff like that at D23 as well. Like they had a whole National Geographic experience where you felt like you were like underwater. It was pretty cool. And then they had a whole heroes and villains costume experience where you could go and you could see all of these various costumes from all the different Disney movies. That was really neat. And that's the one thing about D23 is they make the wait worthwhile.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is so super cool. They also have a whole setup where you can swim, I guess, in Scrooge's money gold.
Oh, I saw that.
You can dive in. That's really fun. Yeah.
I think that's something that Hallmark might want to, if they're going to continue to sponsor the convention, that might be something worth looking into for them. Like, how do you do more experiential things that people are going to come away with thinking that they kind of got their money's worth without having to buy, selfies and pictures, no matter how reasonable those are. Like, can you build like a Hallmark cafe from one of the movies, or see what it feels like to play in fake movie snow? Like those kind of things might be interesting.
Yeah. I think that would be really fun. You could have, I mean, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be Christmas, but it would be fun if they had like the different seasons. You could have like fall, harvest, spring, and you can get kind of your, that would be kind of fun. And maybe you could get like a picture when you go out with you in all of the four main seasons. I know they have like Countdown to Summer and other weird stuff now, but the main Winterfest, Valentine's.
That would be good.
That would be fun. Yes. And then, so they had this concert that night, Saturday night. And it is surprising that people would have to pay extra for this.
It was very cheap, but I don't think they should have had to pay. I think it was $20, the standalone tickets I saw.
I think, didn't the VIPs get in for free? Was that
yes, the VIP, it came with the VIP package. And then if you bought just, standalone tickets, then it was $20 ticket for the concert to add it on.
So Paul Green and Alicia Witt, what did you think?
I thought it was great. My mom and I really enjoyed it. The one thing I would say is I wish they played more Christmas music because not all of it was like Christmassy, especially Alicia Witt. I think she played maybe three Christmas songs, and then the other ones weren't Christmas. And then Paul Green is kind of similar, like 2 or 3 Christmas, and then the rest weren't Christmas. So maybe a little more Christmas, but they're both super talented, super just nice, and really were engaged, just wanted us to sing when it was a song that we all knew. And it was really fun. I mean, Alicia Witt, she was so talented. I had no idea. I mean, she was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she's one of the queens of Hallmark. But yeah, no, she's very, very talented. I think if we ever do the Hallmark musical, I think these two have got to be in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
um, so and then Sunday. So this was your panel day, Alys. Yeah. And so who was on the panel with you for the writing?
Okay. Julie Sherman Wolfe, of course, Queen.
Mm-hmm.
We stan. Joni Kane, who of course wrote one of the most famous Hallmark movies of all time, The Christmas Card. Alonso Duralde was our host, and then never remember this woman's name. She is a Christmas history writer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember her name?
Joanne Wilson.
Yes, Joanne Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, we had her on the podcast. I'll put a link down if people want to listen to that episode. She's incredible. Her wealth of knowledge.
Yes, and she added a really wonderful layer to the discussion. We were all talking about kind of how we write films, and then she was talking about how as a culture we take these movies in and experience them as a community. Mm-hmm. And so that was really exciting to get to talk to her and have that kind of element to our talk.
Yeah, she wrote the Christmas TV encyclopedia.
Literally wrote the book on it.
Yeah, and she finished it in 2010. So now she's coming up with another edition next year, which is kind of crazy. You think how that's going to have all of Countdown to Christmas.
Wow.
Because her first, there's been 10 years of Countdown to Christmas. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a big book. I'll tell you that. It's going to be, yeah, it'll be really good. I'm excited. So, we love Julie Sherman Wolfe, and she's hilarious. So that must have been cool to actually meet her.
Yes, it was really cool. And, she, whether I knew it or not, has been one of my favorite writers since I was in, high school. And I watched Avalon High. She did the film adaptation for that for Disney Channel. And that was one of my favorite books. And then watching it on TV, I was obsessed. And she wrote for Phil of the Future, and she wrote for a lot of these TV shows that I grew up loving and being just totally obsessed with. So it was kind of just a total overwhelming honor to meet her in person. She's very, very funny and, very quick on her feet. All of that banter from her films really, you can tell it comes from her. And Joni Kane was so, so sweet and incredibly heartfelt and, very passionate about these kind of films and connecting with fans. She made these little fan bracelets for all of us that she gave out to the crowd who was there.
Aww.
That say "I love Hallmark Christmas movies." I still have mine. So yeah, it was a really wonderful discussion. I got to pitch the audience on my dream Hallmark Lifetime Christmas movie that I want to make. Which is basically a Hallmark movie meets Thor. So it's about an alien who comes and has to fall in love and find the meaning of Christmas. I'm really excited about it. One day Hallmark's gonna let me do it. I'm convinced. And the crowd cheered. So Hallmark, listen to the people.
Be open. I mean, I would love that. I love, Thor and the whole superhero world. So my two worlds colliding, I'm for it.
Yes.
Well, any kind of story where you can have someone who's sort of out of their element and then have a Christmas sort of element to it. Yes. I must say I was I liked the new movie Noelle. I didn't love it quite as much as I wanted to, but still that was my favorite parts, for her being kind of her being kind of awkward in the normal people world, because she's raised in Christmas Santa world. But I usually like that dynamic a lot. It's funny. I loved my interview with Julie Sherman Wolfe, one of my all-time favorites. I cut down quite a bit because we talked for a long time. It was just, I instantly felt like we were friends. Yeah. And so we are going to have her back on the podcast later this month. We will be talking to Julie. So I'm really looking forward to that. And so did she talk about her process at all or anything like that?
Yeah, we all kind of talked about,
Mhm.
those sort of things. She talked about how now she, I think it was her, she was living in LA and now she lives in Connecticut, I think it
Mhm.
is. And
Yeah.
she lives across the street from a Christmas tree farm.
Oh,
So she talks about how
Ah,
like she really doesn't have to do any like prep to get in the Christmas spirit. She just opens her
yeah.
and she's like, oh, Christmas.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
yeah.
pretty advantageous for a Christmas writer, right?
And
Mhm.
did you talk about your experience writing? I assume you did about writing Christmas Company. What that was
Yeah,
like.
I did. I got to tell my favorite Hallmark corporate story, which is during the editing process of the book. Originally, the book kind of starts with, or I guess the kind of inciting incident is Tate going to, like, kind of taking over his house and filling it with Christmas decorations and being like, this is where I'm celebrating Christmas now. You took away my festival. I'm taking your house. And I got a note from Hallmark, from Crown Media, that said, very simply, she needs a legal reason to be there. Hallmark heroines do not commit crimes.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh wow, that's
every time I make
funny.
a movie now, I have to remind myself or write a pitch, Hallmark heroines do not commit crimes.
That
Yeah.
is funny.
I guess
Yep,
Wow.
I
our
had to
our
write in.
remake of Hitch for the Holidays is out of the question now.
Yes.
I'm never gonna get that.
Oh my gosh.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So what photo ops were you able to get on Sunday, Anne?
On Sunday, oh, this is a good day too. I saw Andrew Walker, who everyone knows I just love that man. He's so wonderful.
Dreamy.
He's very dreamy. He looks better in person, if that's even
Yeah.
possible. So he was so nice to me. Ryan Pavey, who is also just so nice, and he was the one causing hysteria. I will tell everybody.
The
I
PB
was
pack
like,
was out in full
the
force.
Pavey pack was in full force. When I walked in, I was like, who the heck's line is this coming all the way back here? And I walk up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Ryan's line. I mean,
Yeah.
Andrew's line was long and everyone's lines were long, but his line was like, whoa, it was
And they all
crazy.
had matching T-shirts.
They did. Yeah, he put it on his Instagram, I think. It's like these 10 ladies with him all have Pavey pack and they gave him a shirt, I heard.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it was in full force for sure.
That's
And then
funny.
I saw two queens, Danica McKellar and Erin Krakow. And they
Mm.
were both very nice as well.
Well, and you got Aaron Krakow to tweet out to our good friend Caroline, right?
Yes, I was in line for Danica and I saw her do a video for someone. So immediately I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to get her to do a video for Caroline because it's not really like, it's not something you can pay for. It's just like something you do and you hope their agent or whoever that person's with them doesn't yell at you because Andrew's lady, I'll tell you, she was not very nice. If you were talking longer than a few seconds, she was starting to get onto you.
Mm-hmm.
So that her, I saw when that, and then she didn't say anything. I was like, okay, let me just go over there right now and just like do it. And so I did.
Yeah.
It was so nice. And she knew who Caroline was. And she was like, oh, yeah, like a couple people told me she was so sad she couldn't make it. Of course I'll do, and she was just so nice. And she was so sweet. I mean,
Yeah. You did a good deed because you made her day, her month, and she just barely gotten her tonsils out, like a couple, a month
yeah.
ago. So this was a good.
Oh, I'm so glad. I just knew how much joy it was going to bring her. And I
Yeah.
was like, I have got to try to bring that much joy to somebody if I'm like this close. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It made me happy because I just feel like because we all live so far apart, and yet I really
Yeah.
do feel like we have created this fun little family that we kind of know
Yeah.
each other, and we just doing something that that nice for her was really cute. I really appreciated it. It
Yeah, of
was
course.
so I think that we basically cover. Or was there anything else that really stood out for you?
I did want to say one thing. It was really fun when I was in line waiting for some of this stuff, to talk to the fans, other fans who love this stuff as much as me. It's so fun because I can have social anxiety because I'm kind of like a 50-year-old stuck in a 28-year-old's body. And so sometimes I don't really know how to talk to people about stuff because it's just, we don't on the same wavelength. So it was like everybody was there. We all loved the same thing. And it was so easy to talk to everybody because they all knew who all the people are and asked them what's their favorite movie. And, they knew everything. And it was just so fun to just be there and be talking about something we're all really passionate about together. So that was super fun.
Yeah. So do you have any final takeaways, Alys?
Yeah, just that I think, there were a lot of very cynical takeaways about Christmas Con from, some fairly big media outlets.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, this whole kind of genre of film that we love is very much like above cynicism and above, hating things just because it's fun. I love being a part of a community that really embraces joy and hope and optimism and the belief that good things can happen if you're positive and putting love out into the world. And I'm just going to Christmas Con really reminded me of that, and I am very, very proud to have been a part of it and to be a part of it, in my own small little way. So thank you to everyone who was there and for reminding me of all that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. It really is. There's so much toxicity out there, and every fandom has it in a certain degree, one degree or another. But Hallmark is pretty darn good as far as compared to some of the other ones. And I mean, unless they're killing off their favorite characters, that's really the only time that the things come out.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's just a really nice place to be. And, it's Christmas and it's celebrating Christmas. I mean, well, that's just the best, joyful. So I hope I will get to go. I just spent all of my budget on on D23 this year. I had nothing left as far as that kind of going to that kind of experience. And so, but maybe next year that would be fun. So
maybe next year you'll be on a panel.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, maybe you will.
Call us up. We're ready. Well, thanks you guys so much for coming and sharing with us. I feel like I kind of got to experience it through your guys' stories. And so, Anne, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at awscott21, Scott with 2 T's. And I do have a highlight of Christmas Con on my Instagram where you can, go through and see all the stories right now. So, yeah.
Oh, very cool. And Alys, where can people find you?
You can find me at writer Alys. It's writer like, a person who writes, and ALYS. That's my name. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and I have a Facebook page, Alys Murray author, if you're up on Facebook.
Great. We'll have all that in the description section. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on everywhere, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So make sure you check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media, and on iTunes and YouTube. And if you're listening on iTunes, please give us your thumbs up. If you're listening on iTunes, please give us your ratings and reviews. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us your thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that as well. So thanks so much, you guys. And we will talk again soon. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.